few weeks ago, I got an urgent text from my wife to get in contact with her immediately. So I picked up the phone and called her, and she was letting me know that she was told by a friend that down the street there's a yard sale where they have 2 Sheltie dog statues. We have Shelties, so she wanted me to pick these up immediately. So I ran down to the garage sale and came across another big surprise, the Casio MT65. A really fun, kind of toy, electronic musical instrument from Casio from 1983. And it's full of some nice, warm, nostalgic tones, simple stuff, 20 different sounds, and a cool drum machine that the Casiotones have been known for. But it's 2024. We've got flying cars and teleport machines now, so we want a little bit more out of this. And that's why I sampled this entire keyboard and brought it into Ableton Live and added some features and effects that you can use in your own music. And I even recorded it through a special mystery box that I'll show you a little bit later in the video that takes this to new futuristic levels. So there's 20 sounds, and they're quite charming, simple little sounds. All kinds of stuff on here: mandolin, electric guitar, electric piano, we got a horn. The first thing I need to do is go through the tedious process of sampling these sounds. And I'm gonna get right to it. I'll save you the trouble of having to watch it, and I'll start building out these instruments. Okay, I've sampled all of the sounds, all of the beats, all of the fills, and now's the fun part. The mystery box I ran it through was the Chroma Console multi-effector by Hologram. It's got a bunch of different effects and sounds you can run this through, from some drive for some character movement, has phaser, vibrato, tremolo, doublers. We got a diffusion, which is like reverbs and delays, and then texture, which adds some cool kind of fun to it, filters, squash it, cassette effect, a broken or an interference sound that is very useful for making this keyboard come to life. This is the clarinet going through a few different effects on the Chroma Console. And I'm just gonna kind of play around with things and see what I can come up with. So now I've got the howl going into the vibrato and some cascade reverb, followed by a little bit of a filter. And that's gonna go, let's do that on the Celesta sound. I've rearranged the order of these effects, so we've got some different movement happening, starting with tremolo, some character, some reverb, and then some texture. And I'm going to put this on the clarinet sound, and we'll sample. So this should be a lot of fun to make some instruments out of. I sampled each preset 5 times at every octave, and that just makes for a tedious process of building these samplers. That's 20 different presets at 5 octaves, plus 20 more presets going through the Chroma Console. It's going to be a long, arduous process. But I have a couple things that might speed it up a little bit for you. So here we have our sample of the organ sound. I'm going to right click and do Slice to New MIDI Track. I'm going to leave it at transient because Live is detecting the start of my notes. I'm selecting a preset I have called Sampler, which is just a sampler device, plain old sampler. If I click OK, Live will slice this into 5 different slices, each one of the samples, and it puts it at C1, C#1, and so on. And all I really need to do is hold down the Option key and click on C2, C3, C4, and then C5, and then I can right click and distribute ranges around the key. So now each one of my samples has been spread out across the keyboard, and if I were to play this instrument, everything makes sense and is in tune. Now of course I still have to do some looping stuff, but that process at least saves us a little bit of time. But there's still a lot of work to go, but the good thing is once we do it, we'll have these instruments forever. I finally finished building these instruments, and I present to you the Casio MT65 Ableton Live Pack, We've got 2 different instrument racks, a drum rack, all 12 of the Casio MT65 rhythms, and the fills that go along with them. And those are all found inside the presets folder. We got the presets here. We've got the clips for Ableton Live clips. And then we've also got the samples of the rhythms as well. So as we look inside this MT65 rack, this is what the actual Casio really sounds like. And you've got your different presets right here on this first macro control. And you'll notice as I scroll through these presets, to the right, we've got our readout of which instrument we're hearing as I scroll, which is pretty cool that it does that. So right now I've got the cello on. And I can scroll down to say the vibraphone, which is one of my favorites. And it really worked well when I started putting it through the Chroma Console pedal. Then we've got our amplitude envelope, so we can take the sound and build it into something more like a pad. We've got filter controls. Let's pick a different preset for that, maybe the accordion. So I've got like this accordion pad now. I'm going to use the filter envelope to make that filter move over time. Pretty nice. So in the next set of macros, we've got the tone control, which to get the natural sound, you leave it at 0. But as we turn to the left, we get a more trebly sound, brighter sound. As we turn to the right, we get a darker sound. And this is achieved by changing the way the samples are distributed across the keyboard. And of course, each preset changes quite a lot with these controls. One of the fun features of the Casio is a vibrato. So if we start turning the vibrato and onset control on, we get vibrato. So just turning the knob the slightest amount introduces the vibrato. If you turn it all the way to the left, it's off. And the amount of time it takes for that vibrato to fade in is determined by this control. So if I set it to 2.5 seconds, it fades in more dramatically. We'll do 10 seconds, no vibrato, and then it starts moving a bit. And by the time we get to 10 seconds, we've got full-on vibrato. Often when people play instruments, they play the note, then introduce the vibrato. So we have a little control over that. Magic Space widens the sound by slightly detuning the left and right side of our instrument. Let's hear the delay now. And we got control over the delay time. And we could add some magic reverb, which is reverb and chorus. Kind of gives it this nostalgic sound. Dreamy. And the last control on this instrument is Casio Dust. So if you want a little bit of noise in your sound, you can crank that up. So I got it all the way up. But sometimes just a little bit of subtle noise just kind of emulates the way those things break down a little bit as the battery goes down or if there's a bad connection. Just a little extra texture. So you've got the 16 macros, and then I made some presets so we can start off with like the vibrato and decay. This is kind of a sound you could get on the original keyboard because it does have vibrato and decay. And then we can make a pad. And the macro variations are not affecting the preset. So if you have a preset you like the sound of, changing the different variations won't change the preset. So that sound that was just a pad is now a little pluck. And from there you can, of course, change these sounds as you like. Maybe add some delay and magic reverb. And the next ones I just had a little more fun with to create some movement in our sounds. It's sun rising, which I think is a really cool sound. It's nice, can't deny it. And if you're feeling lucky, you can always hit the random button and see what you get. So in this case, we got a very long kind of pad sound. This one's actually very nice. Next up is the Casio MT65 Turbo Edition. This instrument has all of those samples I ran through the Chroma Console pedal. So before you even do anything to these sounds, you can change the samples, get different samples. And they're already moving sounds with textures and interesting kind of effects already placed on them. And I set these up so that each one of these samples fades into the next sample. So as you're just kind of turning the controls, so I'm just slowly dialing this up, you can hear it kind of morphing into something new. And then into something else new. So go slowly through the sample selector on these, because you're really morphing sounds as you go. Here's a cool one. And we got some of these similar controls. We got the attack, release, and sustain. We've got filters, vibrato onset. One difference is I use some frequency modulation on this, so you can get even wilder textures by playing around with the volume and the tuning of that frequency modulation. Go to extremes, you're going to get very harsh metallic sounds. But bring it down a little bit. Then you're getting some pretty cool textures. Sometimes filtering these out a little bit smooths things out. And again, we've got delay and magic reverb and our old friend Casio Dust. We've got macro variations. Original sound is the processed samples without any processing on original sound. And then we've got our pad. Turn any one of these samples into a pad. Turn any one into a pluck. We've got one called Flying By. Cool sound. Sounds good on all the different samples. So a lot of this expressive stuff I'm doing, especially with some kind of MPE controller like Push, you can't get that on the original Casio. And it's a real nice way to get some extra emotion into your playing. So there's so much diversity you get out of these Turbo Edition sounds. And of course, we've got the Casio drums. You can play these in, make your own beats with them. We've got all of the different rhythms that come with the Casio MT65. So we got your rock rhythms, pop. And these are, of course, tempo synced. So as I speed things up, we get faster tempos, slower tempos that match your music. Everything's nice and warped. And I've also got the different fills, too. So each rhythm has its own fill. Some of them are just cool beats. I mean, this is just a cool beat right here. So you can use these in your music as you like, and then, bring back in your normal beat. Make stuff to these beats, create your own beats with the drums. It's totally up to you. So there we have it, the Casio MT65 inside your Ableton Live. This is a fun synthesizer. It's even more fun inside Live with the effects from Chroma Console and the different macros and effects inside of Live. Turns out hunting these guys down was a pretty good day. So don't forget to check your local garage sales, because sometimes you get these cool finds. And I'm really happy I get to share this with you. Thanks a lot for watching, and have a great day.